A cháde, tugam díomhar ganara, fear usa, fear stoma, mhór ganara, uachtarán Sinn Féin, Gerry Adams.
And delegates rising to their feet to welcome Gerry Adams coming to the podium as opinion polls put Sinn Féin at around double its 10% showing in the last general election. Gerry Adams' general international reputation, of course, enhanced by his prominence at the recent funeral of Nelson Mandela, but also coming in for some severe criticism in the past year, both politically and personally. Now, easily the country's Ireland's longest serving party leader. He's been Sinn Féin president for 31 years and has just been re-elected.
Matt can nearly talk. Ní meach ag magu. Tá fáilte mór roimh a lig ag Ard Fheis Sinn Féin. And a very special céad míle fáilte to friends of Sinn Féin from the USA, from Canada, from Australia, to our comrades from South Africa, Palestine, Cuba, the Basque Country, Britain, and to all our foreign dignitaries. Tá mé ansásta a bheith an seo a loch Garman. Oich in our cruhi, Surani Iriamak Shakjeg Naka is a hocht an Foblacht Féin. Lach Gorum de Iriamak Nijeg Shejeg, Lach Gorman Oich Dukas and Toglach Ed O'Brien. The star who severed the Sinn to Sinn Féin ansásta a bheith an seo de Ard Fheis. I want to send solidarity greetings to the family of Sinn Féin councillor John Davey, who was killed by British forces 25 years ago next Friday. We also remember our friend, Father Alex Reid, the chaplain to the peace process, who has passed away since we last met. And I want to send very special greetings to John Downey, currently exiled in London, and to all other OTRs.
OTRs on the runs in Sinn Féin parliaments.
A special welcome to the Ballymurphy Massacre campaign, to all the other campaigns, and solidarity also to the family of Pat Finucane and to the families of all victims of the conflict. Remember back in the day when Fine Gael and Labour promised to govern differently from Fianna Fáil? Remember they promised to transform political culture and to end cronyism. They promised a strategic investment bank, an end to upward-only rents. They said they would not cut child benefit. They said they would not cut support for those citizens, especially children with disabilities. What have they delivered? Cuts to living standards in vital public services, an unsustainable banking debt for generations to come, cuts to support for people with disabilities, unemployment at 12.4%, with 179,000 long-term unemployed. 10 people every hour leaving this state. Rural Ireland under attack with the close down of Garda stations, public transport, post offices and schools. 140,000 households in mortgage distress and homelessness on the increase. A health service that is crumbling. A family home tax. Water charges which go straight into the pockets of consultants. No strategic plan for flood defences or adequate financial aid for households who can't get insurance because of where they live. That's Labour's way. That's Fine Gael's way. Oithni and Kirog Ella. Lots of money for consultants, investors, bankers and politicians, but little for disabled children. Most citizens do understand that difficult choices must be made, but what they resent and what Sinn Féin resents is the unfair way that this is being done. Tá is ag daoine go bhfuil bailach eile ann. Bailach níos fearr, bailach atá bunatha ar comhionanas. Instead, our society has become increasingly polarised between haves and have-nots, ruled over by a government which is increasingly arrogant. The arrogancy that dismisses concerns about fracking, the arrogance that breaches pay caps for ministerial advisers but cuts the carers allowance, home help hours and hikes up prescription charges, the arrogance that ignores community health concerns at the construction of pylons. And does Pat Roberts really believe that people will be fooled by a meaningless pre-election promise from him? And Captain and Realtus go will Shidig Cor and Dalamalog are on Pobble. Let me be very clear. Sinn Féin will not make election promises that we cannot keep, and Sinn Féin will keep every commitment that we make. That's a real democratic revolution. Today, this very day, 240 people have left Ireland. That's 240 devastated families. Enda Kenny, our Taoiseach, insults each of these families when he dismisses this as a desire of our young people to travel. Tanadini Oga Shaw ag Image Pella, Camogiocta, Ammoniocta, San Astrail, i Canada, the Stoidentaha, Assassina, August an Oichana Ella or Fud and Dawn. For some parents, all of their children have left. They are the Skype generation, the scattering, given a final push out of the state by targeted dole queues and exploitation by Jobs Bridge. These 400,000 people and their families know exactly who is responsible for forced emigration. That's why there is no government task force on emigration. That's why there's no vote for the diaspora that would give them a stake in our country. Agus gan Ian Ober and Shaw, ni bay dini oga abult the fanacht, ta shed fag the gan more on dogus, agus gan Ian Rawa Ella, ag bogu harsalia. But jobs can and should be created. That's how we will bring our young people home. And Sinn Féin wants our young people back here in Ireland where they belong. Sinn Féin also stands firmly for a national public health service. This state's two-tier health service is at breaking point. We oppose cuts to the health budget and we support all those who are making a stand. Those like communities where the absence of a proper ambulance service is a difference between life and death. Like patients waiting years for procedures because there aren't enough doctors or nurses to cope with the demand. Like the children waiting for cochlear implants or medical cards. I see in Cheer Shaw and Cheer Biog is massa ata on Conavay Chin no avay mi humish. James Riley is letting patients and their families down. But let me be clear about this. The Taoiseach may be tempted to move James Riley in his cabinet reshuffle. But Enda, that's not good enough. Yes, Minister Riley has to go, but this government has to go with him. And the government isn't just failing on the economy or public services. Look at what it's doing to the Irish language, to the future of the Gaeltacht, to the rights of Irish speakers, to the very survival of our native language. The resignation of Commissioner Changa, Sean O'Kearine, over the failure to provide services through Irish is a damning indictment of Fine Gael and Labour. And look what it's doing to the arts. The arts, despite all their potential and contribution to the economy and to society, are struggling in the face of substantial cuts. There's little commitment to their development. And the debacle over the Limerick City of Culture highlights this. The arts are an easy target, but this is short-sighted. The renowned artist Robert Balla has said that this government is one of the worst for the arts in the history of this state. Robert Balla is right. A community without a thriving arts and cultural life is not a community at all. The arts must be valued, promoted, and their potential built upon, because they enrich the lives of citizens, encourage social good, and lift the spirits. They show us what we are, what we could and should be. Many of the problems that Ireland faces today are a direct result of a toxic political culture which arose from the counter-revolution that followed the 1916 Rising and the Town War. The counter-revolutionaries who succeeded Michael Collins, like their contemporaries in the north, copper fast and partition, and two conservative states which it created. In this part of Ireland, this toxic political culture led to the abuses of power in planning, in the banks, in church and state-run institutions, and in the health service. An elite, politically represented by the Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil leaderships, often supported by the Labour Party, oversaw a culture of corruption and golden circles. These are the same interests that collapsed the economy here 6 years ago. This corrupt political culture led to scandals such as symphysiotomy, the Neary scandal, the Magdalen laundries, Bethany Home, and the cases like Louise O'Keeffe, pursued all the way to Europe by this state, which also intimidated other victims to drop their court cases. This same culture led to other scandals in CRC, in Uisce Éireann and Rehab. Sinn Féin is committed to taking on this toxic culture. That's what our TDs, our senators, our MPs, MLAs, MEP councillors and our activists do every single day. And that's what Mary Lou McDonald is doing on the Public Accounts Committee, holding them to account. Being in government is about making choices. In the Northern Executive, Sinn Féin chose not to impose water charges. This government made a different choice. Sinn Féin invested millions in new school builds and in capital projects. We chose to protect payments to young people in education, and we refused to raise student fees or to impose prescription charges. There are countless other difficult but positive choices Sinn Féin and government is making in the North, even without the necessary fiscal powers. So don't be fooled by Labour, by Fine Gael or by Fianna Fáil, who claim that they do not have any choice in the decisions they are making. Martin McGuinness and our team of ministers have shown what is possible with real political leadership. Rinne Nart Dulcon Keane, le linn and proses a bí steru ag Richard Haas agus Megan O'Sullivan and Mina Nullag. Glock Sinn Féin leis na Tógraí. But let's be clear. Issues like Act na Gaeilge, a Bill of Rights, the Long Case site, they're not going away. Let us also be clear. These issues will be resolved. So too will issues of identity and contentious orange parades. There may be obstacles, but be sure of one thing. Change will not be stopped. I'm very happy to meet with the Orange Order at any time to discuss these matters. I want to see the Orange Order treating its Catholic neighbours with respect. I want to see it treated with respect. I want to see it upholding law and order. Orange is one of our country's national colours. The Orange Order of Ireland is one of our national traditions. And Sinn Féin wants to see all of our traditions freed up from sectarianism, living together in peace and respect and with tolerance from everyone, for everyone. Of course, for those who are trying to resist the change, they should reflect. The tide of history is with those who seek to build a peaceful and inclusive future. And Ireland, north and south, is changing. Ach ní bé orin obair go crua don Éireann nua seo. Ní ghlaci sé agus ní hardaí sé gan alán obair. Sinn Féin is a united Ireland party. Others have a different view, but a border poll or a referendum in Irish unity threatens nobody and gives all citizens their say on the future. Isn't it a very limited ambition that looks to a British government to rule any part of Ireland, even in a semi-detached way? Surely we have the right to govern ourselves, all of us together, green, white and orange. And why would any Democrat refuse to let the people have their say on this? Are they afraid of the people? Are they afraid of the future? Are they afraid of democracy? As Ian Paisley famously told Martin McGuinness, we don't need any English minister to rule us. This Ard Fheis has discussed proposals to protect and promote the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender citizens. Equality is for everyone, and that must include the LGBT community. Homophobia in Russia or in Ireland must be rejected. This Ard Fheis also discussed policy proposals to protect and promote the rights of workers. We have discussed other proposals aimed at bringing the political system in this state into the 21st century. But while the daine atá oich in a will agus atá bunatha ar ceartas so síolta an pobl agus ceobh onas. If we are serious about changing this country, the left needs to come together around viable alternative policies and to take on the Conservative establishment which brought the economy to its knees and created the toxic culture that we're trying to break free from. The Conservatives, the right-wingers, they consistently unite around their issues. Those of us who have a different vision, a vision which is rights-based, a vision which is progressive, we must do the same. Last October, Sinn Féin put forward budgetary proposals based on fairness. These would have reduced the deficit, reduced tax on families, protected public services and invested in jobs. Real change also means tackling low pay and 0 hours contracts. It means prioritising jobs creation. It means abolishing the local property tax and improving vital public services. It means tackling excessive wages at the top of the public sector and the wages of TDs and ministers. But there's a lot to be hopeful about. One-party rule in the north has gone, and 2.5-party rule in this state is going also. However well they regroup, however well they redeploy themselves, Fianna Fáil will never, ever again be the dominant force they once were. Sinn Féin is now a major player in both states on this island with policies, objectives and an expanding organisation which transcends partition. Agus tá méid ag géirí a bhád níos laidre, mar sin tá an bunaíocht ag gceannu ionsaí orainn, ach tá teachtarach againn de na elites. Tá Sinn Féin an seo agus níl méid ag dul áitir ach ará. In May, in European and local government elections, north and south, you can play your part. For the first time ever, every voter in every county council on this island will have the opportunity to vote for Sinn Féin. In this centenary year of Coming the Mon, Sinn Féin is running more women candidates than ever before. And may I signal out and salute Councillor Catherine Seeley, who's standing up for women and for Sinn Féin against sectarian bigots. There will be over 350 Republican candidates across Ireland. Each is a committed voice for their community, putting the people's interests at the head and at the heart of local government. In the coming weeks, our party will launch proposals to radically reshape and to improve local authorities. But let's not forget, successive governments here, including this one, have centralised power and emasculated local democracy. And I want to commend and thank the hundreds of Sinn Féin local representatives who have done sterling work at local level for decades. Gora Mila Mai Agad Gora. Our EU candidates, MEP Martina Anderson in the north, Matt Carty in the Midlands Northwest, Lynn Boylan in Dublin and Leah Ní in the South constituency, offer the people of Ireland the representation they have failed to get from other MEPs. Sinn Féin MEPs will fight for the best deal for Ireland on every single issue, unlike Enda Kenny or even Gilmore. Since we last met the world, and in particular South Africa, and I welcome our comrades from South Africa here today, the world and South Africa lost a great leader. When Madiba, Nelson Mandela, Hui Shea or Slee and Erinya. Madiba was a friend of Ireland and a friend of Sinn Féin. And Richard Macaulay and I were greatly honoured to represent Irish Republicans at Madiba's funeral and to be part of his final guard of honour. Slán Madiba, ní bé de lehad a rís an. A caiimiid a bheith sa leir hui na oichana alla ar fud na dón. Madiba's qualities of leadership and peace building are needed more than ever across the globe, particularly in the Middle East. The current Palestinian-Israeli peace process is not going to deliver at this time a democratic outcome, because the international community has failed to uphold the rights of the people of Palestine. That is a shame. I welcome the Palestinian ambassador here today. I welcome the ambassador from Cuba. Sense tells us all that these conflicts can only be resolved if the international community upholds their own laws, upholds international laws, and takes positive, focused initiatives to find political solutions. And that's true of the Central African Republic and in Syria, where the suffering is horrific and totally and absolutely unacceptable. And despite this and the obvious futility of militarism, the big powers at the EU are moving gradually towards greater militarisation. Sinn Féin opposes this, and we will robustly defend and promote Irish neutrality. Margaretta D'Arcy is in prison over this issue. Margaretta is not a criminal. Margaretta should be freed immediately. Sinn Féin is the only creditable and real opposition in Leinster House. We have clear and positive alternatives to the policies of austerity embraced by the cosy consensus of Fianna Fáil, of Fine Gael and Labour. So our message is clear. Now is the time for change. It's time to rebuild our economy and to rebuild our society. This government must give families a break. The next budget must give something back. It must ease the tax burden on working people. It must remove the property tax and prioritise investment in public services and jobs. For Sinn Féin, in opposition or in government north or south, politics is about delivery for citizens, delivery for people. Bobby Sands put it well when on the 11th day of his hunger strike in his prison diary he wrote, "There is no equality in a society that stands upon the political and economic bog where only the strongest make it good or survive." So it's about standing up for citizens and for their rights. The Irish people have endured much throughout our history, and we've come through it all. Ireland is a great country. The Irish people, we're no mean people. So we will overcome the challenges and we will prosper. And working together, we will rebuild this great nation. Be sure of this. Be sure of this. As Pete Seeger said, we shall overcome. So let's make 2014 the year of change. Arailin, the Hélia, Arailin, the Sinn Féin. Gwyneri and ta libsha agus mabweha Steve go lear Pahonia and Ubber a Yarna Shiv agus an Ubber a Yani Shiv o Shaw a Mock. Arai, the Hélia. Goramila Margaret.
And delegates here at the Sinn Féin Ard Fheis rising to their feet at the end of that speech in which Gerry Adams criticised government policies but also suggested a coming together of the left and of people with progressive visions. Quite what that means we'll find out in the days ahead. That ends our live coverage of the Sinn Féin Ard Fheis. News is next on RTE1 and more analysis and debate on the week in politics on RTE at midday tomorrow and on radio on the This Week programme at 1 o'clock. From the Sinn Féin Ard Fheis in Wexford, good evening.